Hello, poker players, and welcome to another hand review. Today, we're going to analyze a hand that I played on Ignition at the stakes of 50 no limit, with blinds set at 25 cents and 50 cents. Let's dive into the action. I was in the button and opened to 2.5 times the big blind. Villain in the big blind held king-queen offsuit and decided to 3-bet to 9 big blinds, and we call. Moving on to the flop, Villain bets about a third of the pot. With our nut flush draw, we definitely want to continue in this hand. We decide to call as opposed to raise for a couple of reasons. First, by calling, we retain our positional advantage and have the opportunity to see what Villain does on the turn before making our next move. Secondly, raising here could result in getting 3-bet all-in with a mediocre hand. Our nut flush draw does not have great raw equity. Lastly, a general rule of thumb is that we want to avoid betting, or in this case raising, against a strong range that is going to call a lot or continue a lot. Villain's range is particularly strong since their top-heavy pre-flop 3-betting range makes a lot of top-pair hands like ace-king, king-queen. The solver agrees and plays a call-only strategy. On the turn, the villain checks and we decide to bet. In theory, when the villain bets the flop and then checks the turn, it indicates a relatively weak range. This allows us to go on the counter-offensive and bluff a lot. In practice, players often have difficulty protecting their checking ranges, making a bluff even more effective. Our hand can bet mostly as a bluff to get hands like ace-jack and pocket nines to fold, as well as for some value in the sense that our hand has significant equity and can make a stronger hand. Unfortunately, Villain does have top pair, but I believe that a very small portion of Villain's checking range contains top pair or better. We don't have much information since this is an anonymous pool, so we need to draw from our knowledge of common player tendencies, one of which is failure to protect checking ranges. Now, let's discuss the river. Unfortunately, our flush draw has missed, and we must decide whether to bet or check. Generally speaking, bluffing with a busted flush draw is not advisable against a perfectly balanced opponent, as Villain is likely to fold less if we bluff. Hands like ace-queen and ace-jack of spades, which we block with the ace of spades, would probably fold versus a bet, but don't exist, which means our fold equity is less. However, in this specific situation, I believe that I recoup any lost fold equity from playing against an imbalanced opponent. Considering that Villain's range is usually capped at hands like pocket queens and ace-10 suited, this is an inflection point where clear calls, such as top pair or better, are difficult for Villain to have. I think when players face difficult decisions in big pots at meaningful stakes, they tend to overfold and call less frequently with weaker parts of their range that are theoretically indifferent. Solver analysis supports this observation. Looking at the composition of Villain's range on the river, we can see that over 25% of this range before facing a bet is meant to be top pair or better, and these all call an all-in bet. Additionally, a solver would call with half of the second pair hands that make the river and then face a bet. This seems extremely optimistic for Villain, and I don't think these numbers reflect reality. Therefore, we can deduce that our bluff has a much greater chance of success in this scenario, even if our hand has weak blockers. That wraps up our hand review for today. I encourage you to look for spots where you can go on the counter-offensive and attack checking ranges where your opponent will usually crumble under aggression. If you made it this far, you might be interested in personal coaching. You can check out criticalpoker.com for more details or contact me directly at info@criticalpoker.com or DM me at NNW on Discord, spelling in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Good luck at the tables.